that ground, you need not refrain from eating his confectionery. You need not give up the rose for its thorns. How true is the saying? There is so much good in the worst of us and so much bad in the best of us, that it does not behove us to speak about the rest of us. You will have to take the teachings of a person on its own merits without any regard to his personality. With the help of such teachings, learn to look within yourself, find out your own flaws and faults, eradicate them one by one. Do not waste your energies praying into the private lives of others. You have no right to do so. If others make mistakes, they will have to pay the price for them. Let them settle their own accounts with God. Why should you bother? What have you to do with them? Your business is your life. You need to be concerned with yourself. Look within yourself. You will prosper. You will find peace. Thus, if you take care of yourself, the world will take care of itself. Sri Ramakrishna said, first you realize your true self, then be in the world and carry on all the activities. Atman is your real self. Spiritual inquiry culminates in discovery of yourself. Atman is the goal of your pursuit. You have to turn introvert, wade through your body, mind and intellect, your gross, subtle and causal bodies, and reach the core of your personality, that is absolute fulfillment of your life. But instead of looking within, you have a tendency to look out. Your inherent inclination is extrovert. You go all out into the external world, seeking pleasures, joys and knowledge. You get totally involved in the affairs of the world. Consequently, you are agitated. Your mind becomes restless. Your intellect is deprived of its clarity of vision. You lose objectivity in life. So the end result is suffering. Suffering. So suffering is because of our involvement in the world. Whereas your self is all blissful. It enjoys absolute objectivity. It is not at all involved in the world. Hence it is called Sakshi, means witness. You can enjoy that state of absolute objectivity and bliss by realizing yourself, for which you should first rehabilitate your mind and intellect. So this way, Guru gives an awakening to the suffering man. You are not to suffer. You are suffering because you are not going in the way how you should go. You are not associating with the people whom you should associate. You are not taking steps to go inward. That means you have to exert yourself honestly to find out who you are. It's an opportunity given to us to find out the truth. We are here to carry our spiritual journey, not for anything else. So if we are having the goal in front of us, then everything becomes significant. So this awakening comes from the Guru. Then once we step into practices, then slowly we get rid of our false nature and we realize more and more about our true nature. The more we realize our true nature, the more we become peaceful and blissful. So that is the great significance of this wonderful story of the tigress and its cub into life. Sri Ramakrishna has given specific teachings to get peace and joy. It's only through the practice of spirituality we may have some experience of peace and happiness. It's a long practice. One cannot achieve the goal all of a sudden. Once Dhruva, a great devotee of Narayan, he thought, how fortunate I am, I got the vision of Narayan just by doing meditation. And then, when this thought came to him, Narada Maharshi came there. He asked him to come with him. So they walked through. Then they came near a mountain. Big mountain. There, a lot of bones were there. Dhruva was amazed. What is this? So many bones. The whole hill is full of bones. Then Narada said, yes. Do you know whose bones are they? It is your own. So many lives you have taken previously. So many births you have passed through. And in this life you got the realization of God, experience of God. The idea is we must keep on practicing steadily. That's very important. whatever we do, honestly, sincerely, we definitely get the result out of it. Once Sri Ramakrishna said to Hazra, don't eat too much. And then he said, give up this craze for outer cleanliness. People with a craze do not attain knowledge. Follow conventions only as much as necessary. Don't go to excess. It's a very significant teaching Sri Ramakrishna has given. He is cautioning how we should be moderate in eating, in our activities. Eating too much or more than what is required may lead to unpleasantness. You may get into some kind of stomach problem, etc. Or by eating excess, one may feel like going to sleep. It might lead him to lethargy. That is, eating excess makes one tamasic and dull. Such a person will not be able to think clearly and meditate upon spiritual ideas. Example is given. A particular drug is prescribed for curing a certain disease. The quality of the drug is very good, high standard, manufactured by a very good company. The dosage is fixed by the doctor. Accordingly, the patient should take it. But if the patient takes more drug than the prescribed quantity, it may not help cure the disease. Another example is given. There is a lamp, wick and oil. The wick burns well if it is properly fixed and sufficient oil is supplied. The glass shade must be clean to reflect the light properly. All these things must be taken care of. If the length of the wick is pushed upwards more than the requirement, then instead of burning properly, it gives out smoke. And it covers up the glass shade too. Thereby, illumination of the lamp is disturbed. On the other hand, if the wick is lower than the requirement, then the light is put off. So both are not correct. It is said that Buddha began to fast too much. Then he could not continue meditation because he became terribly weak. Mind could not function. He could not think. He could not do anything. Then he started taking food regularly and properly to get back the lost strength. So, we must always remember, Ati Sarvatra Varjayet, must always avoid excesses. Steadiness must be there, that's important. Regularity, steadiness. Lord Krishna has said in the chapter 6th, verse number 17, Yuktahara viharasya, yukta cheshtasya karmasu, yukta swapnavabodhasya yogo bhavati dukkha. Who is free from the sorrows and miseries in life? He who is temperate in his food and recreation, temperate in his exertion at work. Temperate in sleep and waking. So a person who follows this instruction will be able to get over all types of sorrows. Yoga is possible for such a person. So all these ideas are hidden in Sri Ramakrishna's statement. Don't eat excess. And at the same time, Sri Ramakrishna warned that too much of external cleanliness, too much thinking about that is not the way. Many people ask the question, Swami, is it all right that, is it necessary that we should take bath and change the dress and do all such things to meditate? But it is good to take bath and change the cloth. No doubt about it. But that itself should not disturb you. At the same time, you should get over the laziness too. So Sri Ramakrishna is telling us to practice spiritual ideas in a steady way. Then we will have the benefit of it. Regular meditations in morning and evening, devotional practices are essential. But one might ask the question, some people do intense sadhana. Is it not excess? The point is, it depends upon the temperament of a person. Ordinarily speaking, we should adopt this method. But when you become sufficiently strong, when you become sufficiently interested in practicing spirituality, then of course you like to do more intensely the practices. And then Sri Ramakrishna tells that incarnations do not reveal themselves completely to people. When they come, they behave like human beings, and when they become known to the people, they give up their mortal frame. Anyway, God is always there to help us all the time. What is needed is we must prepare our mind. Somehow or other, we must take steps to practice spirituality. So, that's what Sri Ramakrishna has said. Practicality. The very important teaching which Sri Ramakrishna has given emphatically is that we should cherish intense love towards God. Then only we will be able to have the experience of peace and bliss. So how the love to be cultivated? Though it looks easy, but when we come to practical aspect of it, we feel it is not so easy. Why it is not easy? Because our mind is directed towards the world. Our love also is directed towards the world. That means the mind has become extrovert. Mind is constantly projecting outside. It is very busy engaging itself in the activities of the world. As long as the mind is in that state, it is rather extremely difficult to cherish any love towards the Divine Lord. When the mind runs after the world and loves things of the world, it becomes attached to them. Then it becomes impossible for us to get back to our true self. So when the mind runs after the things of the world, it leads to tremendous reactions. It doesn't simply keep quiet. It makes us more and more worldly. It makes us hanker after things of the world more and more. And we become restless because most of our intentions, desires in the world are unfulfilled. So, Sri Ramakrishna has said a significant statement. It is true that the world is being carried on by two wheels. One wheel is lust, another wheel is money. So, we are going along in this world always flanked by lust and money. It is not that we should not earn money. That is not the idea here. The idea here is that we should see the mind doesn't stuck up there, which is rather very difficult for us to follow. So in this context, Sri Ramakrishna has said, it is not good to have too much of money, too much of wealth. Why? Because it drowns the man in the worldliness. As long as the mind is soaked in the worldliness, you will never be able to have any glimpse of peace or joy pertaining to spiritual ideas. So life is full of tests. We are all undergoing number of tests in the life. We are required to pass in the tests to go further. God tests a man in his own way. It is not like the human test. Human test is rather easy, but divine test is difficult. What does it do? Sri Ramakrishna says, it tests a man by making him a rich man. Once a person becomes rich, how he behaves becomes egocentric, erratic, arrogant, full of pride, boasting, full of temper, full of lust. All these things. He becomes the personification of these things. And naturally, whatever the money he has stored up over and above what is required, that he uses for worldly things. He develops bad habits, all sorts of things. But if the person, whatever the money he has acquired, after it is being used up for some of his needs, if he uses the money for charitable activities, servicing the people in needs, then he has passed God's test. It means sacrifice on the part of the person who has possessed enormous wealth. By using his money in charitable activities, serving the poor, helping the sick people, engaging in all types of welfare activities without seeking any reward in turn. God becomes immensely pleased. The result is his heart will be thoroughly purified. So, when the heart is purified, it is easy to direct the mind towards the divine, supreme, and he becomes well qualified to enjoy remarkable peace. And he will be able to experience the truth, the mystery of the life. God's ways are very mysterious. He may provide plenty of riches to one person, but such a man is so deluded by Maya, he will never in his life desire to be charitable. Uses the whole thing for his own selfish ends. Again, God may give a generous heart to another, but not give him much money. So, Sri Ramakrishna says, blessed indeed are they who are rich and yet feel for the poor. So, there are bad effects of wealth. Through wealth and honor, our egotism is bloated up. And there is no greater obstacle in the spiritual path than egotism. That one is very strong. It destroys all our spiritual power. It never allows us to rise above the level of Maya. So, Sri Ramakrishna is pointing out that wealth and lust are so much connected that one follows in the wake of the other. There are some people who say, oh Swamiji, it may be true that the wealth and lust are the main obstacles in the spiritual path, but it's very difficult to get rid of them. They honestly express that weakness. But then it only shows it requires stern discipline, strong determination and willpower, and it only points out that such people need more time to turn to God. Anyway, it is not an easy turn. It is a painful turn. It is as if transplanting yourself from the world to the spiritual realm. Second point, Sri Ramakrishna has said how nice it is that we should all try to sing Singing is a very easy medium to please God. If we are sincere, through singing we easily get absorbed. And if we sing with yearning heart, we are sure to get the vision of God. As long as we desire the things of the world, it is not possible for us to have any earnest desire to know God. It doesn't arise at all. A few days back I had been to Omaha, Nebraska. A very good group was there. I had satsang with them. One of the parents was telling that he has got a child. Now he is aged 18 or 19 years. Previously, when he was little child, he used to offer little prayers and do some repetition of God and some kind of spiritual activities he was doing. But now the same boy is telling he doesn't believe that there is God. So the father is frustrated. What is this happening? We are not like that. Our parents were not like that. Our grandparents were not like that. But now we are seeing our kids are behaving in a very different way. That parent was a very nice devotee, earns a lot of money, a good doctor. Here in America, doctors are very rich. Palatial building, like a palace. Everything he has got. Just he has only 2 sons. But he has everything but one thing. That is, he has no peace of mind. This is worrying him. My son is like this. What can be done? Who can help? He is really worried over it. What's the use of his working whole day and night and getting several $1,000s? What's use? Anyway, no one is responsible for the other in one way. Because everyone has to struggle oneself or herself. Struggling should be there, and world is the place for struggling. We struggle till we reach our goal. Even not knowing you may be struggling. Without knowing you are struggling, knowingly, if you struggle, you enjoy the better result. In a struggle, we are all struggling in one way or other. So, of course, why the child suddenly got into this kind of thinking, there may be many reasons, surroundings and associations, all these things are responsible for the formation of the ideas in this child. Whatever it is, as long as we desire the things of the world, tomorrow there is a football game. 75,000 people come. There's a beautiful stadium in Nebraska. 75,000 people can sit there in that stadium. And the people were telling, in a few days or so, next week probably, there will be football match. The whole place will be full of people. So, whatever may be the factor, the desire, I should go and see that match, he will certainly go, even though there may be several thousand people, he would like to go and participate. That means the mind is engaging in the external things. We are all children, though we are grown up physically, but we are yet children from the spiritual point of view. If the child is absorbed in his toys, naturally he is joyful in playing with the toys. He forgets his mother for the time being. But how long does he play? He gets tired after some time. Then he cries for the mother. Crying, painful crying, because mother doesn't come immediately. He wants immediately the mother should come. He is not happy till he sees her. Similarly, when a man tires of the playthings of the world, when he comes to definite conclusion that all these things are trash, they just ruin my life, no more of these things. Once this idea deepens in his heart, then his heart yearns for God. Then he tries to struggle with all his force, with all his mind, to find out the truth, whatever it is. Nobody wants misery, is it not? Anybody, starting from the lowest worm to the highest creature, highest being in this world, nobody wants misery. Yet, the deluded man ignores God, the source of all happiness, and runs after the worthless toys of life. So, it depends upon what we want. Do we really need peace or simply talking? Do we really have that hankering to have the vision of God, or simply a show? If it is real, then mercilessly throw away all these toys. Don't argue about them anymore. Don't try to convince yourself about the things going on in the world. Don't try to find accommodation in that environment. That means you must develop tremendous renunciation in your heart. I don't want anything. I want only God. I want to see Him. I want to talk to Him. I want to experience the highest truth. So, when you throw away the toys and really cry for God, that crying is called yearning for God. That's called yearning. When you have that yearning, God will run to you and take you in His arms. Sri Ramakrishna says, the divine form, He the divine form, He hears every prayer what we do. He sees our heart. He finds out whether we are really yearning for Him. The next point Sri Ramakrishna tells, it requires tremendous energy to fight back all these worldly tendencies. Spiritual emotions are to be intensified, but these should be kept within. If we give vent to them, they will exhaust themselves, then dryness may follow. So, one who is of true devotion, he yearns for God without becoming impatient. That's very important. Even if he sees no light, he will not give up his devotions. Only those who love God, like shopkeepers looking for profit, will give up if their prayers are not answered immediately. Oh, I have meditated for 12 years, I didn't get anything. What's the use? There is no God. No impatience will give you result. So as Sri Ramakrishna has pointed out in the beginning, one is able to have the vision of God as soon as one gets rid of ego and transcends all limitations. One cannot assimilate spiritual instructions without the power of discrimination. We should have intellectual sharpness to figure out real and unreal. We should have courage and boldness to reject, to throw away that is unreal. At least that should be our ideal. I should know I am walking in the forest, thorns are there, wild animals are there, snakes are there, tigers are there, so many things are there. I am fully aware of them. And then I am walking. That awareness is very important. One can generate that awareness only through sharp intellect. Then only the spiritual instructions of the spiritual masters work well. And another important point which Sri Ramakrishna has said, in order to keep the mind under healthy level, Sri Ramakrishna suggests fasting every fortnight, 11th day of every month. Fasting is very good. It purifies the mind and helps one to develop love of God. Of course, fasting here, Sri Ramakrishna suggests those who cannot fast completely may take little milk and puffed rice. Keep light, that's the point. But there are people who fast every Saturday, every Monday, every Thursday. Simply fasting will not purify your mind unless you engage your mind in spiritual thoughts. I have seen people sometimes during Shivaratri days I have seen in India. People are fasting, no doubt, but they are playing cards. They are fasting, no doubt, but they are visiting theatres. Sit and see the dirty things in the film. What's the use of that fasting? It's useless. All our spiritual practices are done this way. That is why we are as we were before. We are now as we were before. Not an inch we have improved because we have not paid attention to the spiritual practices properly. just like a leaky jar. No doubt the water is pouring down into the jar continuously, but the jar is not filled up at all because there is a small leak. What is going away through the leak? It is just like that. We are deceiving ourselves, not external, our own self. I am deceiving myself. That's the point. That only shows I am not looking within properly. I am not looking within properly. That's very important part. We don't do practices properly, we don't struggle properly, but we want the result. It can never come, it won't come. So, it's very important. In fact, one of the devotees came to Holy Mother and said, Mother, you have initiated me, I have taken mantra from you, I have been doing the japa, repeating the mantra, still I am not able to get anything. Then Mother asked him, how many times you are remembering God? How much time you are devoting for remembering God out of 24 hours? Then he told, he was just repeating 108 times. Mother said, do you really want to see God? Do you really want to have the vision of God? Then repeat 15,000 times every day for 6 months and then come to me and ask the same question if you have got. 15,000 times every day you must repeat. Why Mother said like that? Because mind has been made restless. Simply sitting and getting up doesn't mean that you are practicing spirituality. Mind should be saturated with the spiritual thoughts. Mind should hanker after to be on the high level. You should never go back. Whenever any unpleasant thought comes, immediately the mind should react. No, I don't want this dirty thought. Or it should be indifferent to that. Now what happens? Mind is always on the low level. It has lost its vigor, it has lost its power, it has lost everything. It cannot rise up. Nobody can lift it because it is loaded with all types of samskaras. It has become heavy. It has become too heavy. It cannot be handled at all. So, not that kind of fasting. Before fasting, determine in your mind, tomorrow I am fasting. What is my time schedule from morning to night? What should I do? Should I go and visit my friends? No. This day is meant for practices. I will engage myself in spiritual devotional practices. That's the way. So with that intensity, if we yearn for God, then God is sure to come. These are the words of Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna himself has said, one who was Sri Ramachandra in Treta Yuga and Sri Krishna in Dwapar Yuga, he is now in the human form as Sri Ramakrishna. God descends from the highest state, from the sattvic state. He descends on to this earthly plane. Because he feels that lot of confusion in religion should be removed. So with that definite purpose, the Paramatman embodies himself in human form to lead the spiritual seekers to make easy, to clear all our doubts in our spiritual way, and to assure us that realization of God is possible, and how we should go along in the path. So the incarnation becomes totally aware of the problems which we face in this world, the challenges we face in this world. So they know the solution also. Very important point which the incarnation always stresses is that we should prepare our mind to go towards God. Whether you have the conception of God as of definite form, or he is formless, it's immaterial. The highest truth is God. Call it by any name you want. Give any form you like. So Sri Ramakrishna suggests that sometimes it is good to meditate on the Paramatman, the Supreme God, as free from upadhis, limitations. God is limitless. Ananta. He is beyond limits. He is beyond speech. He is beyond mind. That means if we have to reach that highest truth, we must transcend ourselves beyond mind. We should completely separate ourselves totally from the mind in order to have that highest realization. Then Sri Ramakrishna tells, unless the mind is diverted towards the spiritual ideas, you will not be able to transcend your mind. So you need the cooperation of the mind. It is very essential. Otherwise, people tend to think that whatever they experience in this world, whatever they are seeing, enjoying, they think these things to be real. They think without enjoying this way, life would be waste. They never for a moment think, if they are not realized truth, life is waste. In the opposite way they think, if we have not enjoyed our life, how people are so much enjoying, how much they are dancing, how much they are eating, in how many ways they are using every bit of this world towards their pleasures. If I don't use my life that way, my life would be waste. He feels that way because he is totally attached to these things. Mind is completely soaked, completely submerged in the worldly things. So, that makes you think unreal to be real, real to be unreal. You won't feel the existence of God, and you want to reason out everything according to what your mind directs you. So, the beginning itself you have to be very careful. For many of us, spiritual life has not started yet. Spiritual life begins only when you think the unreal to be unreal, the real to be real. You might not have realized it, but you must be convinced of the fact. You will be able to come to that conclusion if you are associated with men of spirituality, with holy scriptures. Then these facts become very clear. One of the devotees was arguing with Sri Ramakrishna. Vehemently he was telling Sri Ramakrishna that this world is real, very much real, etc., etc. Then Sri Ramakrishna told him in a simple way, well, why don't you say, I like hog plum, I want to eat. Because you are attached to things of the world, you are talking this way. So you can't go away from the miseries in the world as long as you do not give proper direction to your thinking and living. If you take to spiritual life, then your interpretations will be different. So, Sri Ramakrishna suggests that it is helpful to meditate on the highest reality without any limits, upadhis, without any upadhis. Then Sri Ramakrishna says further, it is not possible for the people to hold on to that type of meditation. Sri Ramakrishna accepts that. At the same time he tells it's not possible for most of the people. It's perfectly all right. Sri Ramakrishna approves it. Meditating on God with form or without form, both are wonderful. Go ahead. And it is very easy to meditate even on incarnation. There are all stages. Incarnation is a God coming to our level, God behaving like us, and at the same time showing the gateway to God. That's the beauty of incarnation. He comes to us in human form as our own kith and kin, as our own best friend, as our own father, mother. He cherishes all human relations in the same way as we cherish. So we become charmed with such personality. A kind of wonderful attraction which we can't explain in words. It's called divine attraction because the Supreme God Himself has incarnated in the divine form, in the human form. So there is that invisible, wonderful spiritual attraction. In His presence we feel immensely peaceful, free from all anxieties, worries and fear. And whatever the problems we have, all those things seem to melt away when we sit in the presence of the incarnation. So, from that point of view, it is easy to meditate on the incarnation. Not only that, even though they live this mortal frame after the stipulated time, they continue to live in subtle bodies to help the spiritual seekers for sufficient length of time. So they are available. It's easy to get the vision of the incarnation rather than the vision of gods and goddesses. So he explains further, God in man is like a lantern with a light burning inside. You can see the wonderful light so clearly, like a glass case in which one sees precious things. Incarnation is just like that. Unless they show through their life, we will not be able to get rid of this darkness of ignorance. And Sri Ramakrishna tells further that as long as we are in this world, we should accept without any doubt the wonderful play of Shakti. Whatever name you may give, you may call it as Maya, you may call it as Prakriti, call by any name. But you must accept that. When you accept this, we accept Brahman as well. If one is aware of night, one is also aware of the day. If one is aware of knowledge, one is also aware of ignorance. All in the relative realm. There is a stage in which God reveals to his devotee that Brahman is beyond both knowledge and ignorance. It can't be described in words. What exists, exists. These are the words of Sri Ramakrishna, who had attained that highest state of samadhi. In fact, he himself tried to explain and describe that highest state, which he could not do. So whatever he said is completely authenticated by his own experience. So it gives us more encouragement and inspiration to follow the footsteps of Sri Ramakrishna, because here is a person who is telling very clearly, without any doubt, go this way, you reach the place. He is literally leading us towards the highest truth. So Satchidananda Guru himself is the incarnation of God. What is beyond speech, beyond mind, is born in the flesh, assuming various forms and engaging in various activities. From that one Om have sprung Om Shiva, Om Kali, Om Krishna, Om Rama, Om Durga. Om Christ, you can say. The goal of human life is nothing but realization of the truth. If that is not done, it means you have to come again to this world. Again you have to pass through all these different types of experiences in life. These experiences keep on coming until and unless you learn through them. It won't leave you. You have to learn. It makes you learn. It makes you turn to the truth. The realization of the truth is only possible in this human life. So it is the best life. Even the life of the devatas is inferior compared to that of the human. Devatas means ordinary devatas, who have gone to that state on account of their meritorious deeds in their lives. Sense enjoyments, pleasures, all sorts of things you can have in other lives. But realization of truth, realization of God, realization of Brahman is possible exclusively in human life. From the spiritual point of view, the goal of human life is the cessation of all misery and the attainment of supreme bliss. All the miseries will stop once you reach the highest state of samadhi. Truths are very clear. Path is also clear. Methods also are clear. We have to make our effort to take the journey. Take the journey having faith in the words of incarnation, then you will see wonderful results in your life. So these are the words which Sri Ramakrishna has said. That was my comments for my last reading. In the last class, Sri Ramakrishna told many parables and gave his instructions. He said, somehow we should develop love towards God. We must cultivate that love towards Him. So we should understand this point very clearly. Unless you strongly desire to have the experience of the absolute truth, unless you have got determination, you will not be able to get released from bondage. Again and again we have to be coming to this world back and forth. A number of times we might have to come. A number of times we might have to die. But it continues until we learn. So the Mahatmas, the teachers come and try to convince about the fact. And so, by their own examples, they help the spiritual seekers. Sri Ramakrishna has observed the people, how they conduct their life, their activities in their life, in the world. And Sri Ramakrishna knows them more than they. He sees them very clearly. So, his observations are very pointed and clear. So he says how people spend their whole mind in the world. Actually, they don't have anything to do with God. Because the whole mind is occupied in the world and its activities. Whatever may the reasons the people may give to defend their actions. So Sri Ramakrishna points out clearly here that you should carry on your activities, calling them as the duties of the world, with only one part of the mind. You must devote 15 parts of the mind to God. It's very important here that we should note this point very clearly. But for most of us, 15 parts of the mind or even more are given to world, not even one part is given to God. So the result is accordingly we are experiencing. So Sri Ramakrishna gives the example about the village woman working at the husking machine, how her 15 parts of her mind was fixed on the pestle of the husking machine, lest it should pound her hand. With only one part of her mind, the lady nurses the baby which she is carrying in her arms and talks to the customers. She carries all those activities, but her major portion of the mind is concentrated on the pestle of the husking machine. That's the way how we should conduct ourselves in this world. Otherwise, we are lost. So what is the way to devote 15 parts of the mind on God? The ways also are shown by Sri Ramakrishna. He says, japa, meditation, prayers, chanting, worship, all these things, through all these types of activities, you must engage 15 parts of the mind on God by doing these things. That means your major concentration is on these things, and the other thing will be taken care of by just one part of the mind. So as I said earlier, what we see in this world is that 15 parts of the mind have been given to the worldly duties. Even one part of the mind also is not properly given to God. So the result is egotism, pride, vanity, brutal selfishness. All these things come and occupy the mind, and they rule the people. You are ruled by these tendencies which you have created yourself on account of devoting your most of the mind in so-called worldly duties. So Sri Ramakrishna advises that as a spiritual doctor, he gives prescription. In favorable or in adverse circumstances, feel always that you have none but him, and that you are serving him through the faithful discharge of your allotted duties. The Lord's name, the name of the Divine Supreme, is the only truth. That's the only reality. Everything else is unreal and trash. To have faith in the Divine Lord, to be devoted to Him, to sing His glories, to worship Him, these are the only duties in life. If you neglect these duties, your life has gone in vain. So by engaging ourselves in these spiritual activities, the mind gets purified, and that purified mind will direct you from within. So the mind becomes your inner guru. It will guide you and it will continue to help you until the goal is reached. So we have to understand this point very clearly without any doubt. You may attend to your 101 duties or earn billions of dollars, but know in our heart of hearts that all these are transient. The world is unreal. There can be nothing more certain than that. Someday all these things of the world ought to be left behind. Whatever you have earned through your occupying yourself in the worldly activities.